comment, answer anything that they've heard that they want to comment on or that type of stuff, so. Right,
I would
Ken?
like to speak.
Why don't you come on up to the seat, Ken?
Actually, I had a mishap with the ice the
Uh-oh.
last week, so if I could just stand here, that would work better.
You bet.
Mayor Guard, members of the Washougal City Council, and Washougal City staff. My name is Janet Anderson Briggs. I am an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Washington, and I am representing Michael Briggs as his attorney. My address is 2868 West 9th Street, Washougal, Washington. You may not have read the editorial by Heather Atchison in last Tuesday's Camas Washougal Post-Record, which in my opinion gave a sound analysis of First Amendment rights concerning freedom of speech, so I would like to address these issues regarding Mr. Briggs. It also appears that there may be some people who have read it but did not understand it, so I would like to comment on that. During the November 15th, 2010 Washougal City Council meeting, in regard to his motion to table the confirmation of Mr. Briggs' appointment to the Planning Commission to the November 29th, 2010 City Council workshop, Mr. Russell stated, "The reason for my tabling, Council, is there are a lot of disparaging and untrue remarks that have been floating around, not only the blogosphere, but also the local media, from the person who is going to want to be seeking the appointment for this. I would like to have this discussion at our next workshop. Some of these comments I deem are disparaging toward the mayor, the council, and developers in our community. Thank you." During the November 15th, 2010 Washougal City Council meeting, in regard to Mr. Briggs' appointment to the Planning Commission, Mr. Shoemaker stated, "Based on the personal attacks by Mr. Briggs against members of the council with whom he disagrees, both in these chambers and in public media, I'm concerned that Mr. Briggs will detract from, rather than add to, the Planning Commission deliberations. And for this reason, I'm unable to support his confirmation. Thank you." I would now like to address how the Washington state courts have held on these issues. However, what I have to say should not be construed as legal advice and should be construed only as informational. For your particular situation, you should consult with legal. Defamation is a civil tort or civil wrong. Defamation includes slander, which is verbal or oral, and libel, which is written or broadcast. There are certain defenses to an action for defamation, which include, but are not limited to, stating the truth or expressing an opinion. In the case of Bender versus the City of Seattle, the Supreme Court of Washington stated, "Under our case law, a defamation plaintiff must establish 4 essential elements to recover. 1, falsity. 2, an unprivileged communication. 3, fault. And 4, damages. The degree of fault necessary to make out a prima facie case of defamation depends on whether the plaintiff is a private individual or a public figure or public official. If the plaintiff is a private individual, the negligence standard of fault applies. Otherwise, the plaintiff must prove actual malice, that is, knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard of the truth or falsity, to recover. In this case, the Washington State Supreme Court cited 3 U.S. Supreme Court cases, one of which was New York Times Company versus Sullivan, decided in 1964. In which set the standard of actual malice for public officials who bring suit for defamation. In the case of Kamer versus the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, the Court of Appeals of Washington, Division I stated, "While communication of a false fact may not be privileged, expressions of opinion are protected under the First Amendment and thus are not actionable. Under the First Amendment, there is no such thing as a false idea. However pernicious an opinion may seem, we depend for its correction not on the conscience of judges and juries, but on the competition of other ideas. But there is no constitutional value in false statements of fact. In this case, the Washington Appellate Court cited the U.S. Supreme Court case of Gertz versus Robert Welch, Inc. Mr. Briggs has written numerous letters to the editors of the Oregonian, the Columbian, the Camas Washougal Post-Record, and has written on various blogs, all expressing his opinions on various matters, including the Washougal City Council and the city of Washougal in general. And in the two articles that Mr. Russell and Mr. Shoemaker quoted, he expressly used the words, "in my opinion," in the articles. As with anyone's opinions on any subject, some individuals might find fault with it, and some individuals might find favor with it. However, no citizen should be discriminated against by public officials for expressing an opinion with which these public officials disagree. In my opinion, this kind of behavior by governmental officials is an abuse of their positions. Thank you for allowing me to speak on Mr. Frick's behalf.
Thanks, Jan. Mike?
Little lighter here.
Hang on.
Mayor Guard, City Council, City staff, and citizens of Washougal present. I stand before you again to speak of myself and of my desire to become part of Washougal's Planning Commission. I understand the council would like to hear more of my background and experience to be able to make a better educated vote for or against my nomination. I am new to the community, having moved here with my wife, Janet Anderson Briggs, in June of 2007. I bring with me a lifetime of valuable educational and real-life experiences and accomplishments, including growing up in the small town at that time of Hillsboro, Oregon. I resided there from about 1951 through 2005 with some absences for military service and living in nearby Beaverton. Hillsboro in their very early years was uniquely similar to the areas of Camas and Washougal of today. I gained valuable insights as to the pitfalls to avoid cities like Washougal, including developer relations and negotiations, adequate street and community planning, immigration concerns, overcrowding conditions, community education and outreach. I have no wish this area of Washougal to succumb to the same problems of the now huge Hillsboro, Oregon. I have 6 years military service with the U.S. Navy, active and inactive reserve. I'm a Vietnam-era veteran. I'm honorably discharged. I'm a disabled veteran. I don't rarely bring this up, but since my veteran status is going to come into play, I hope with the Planning Commission, I want you to be aware of that. But my ailments are tiny in compared to some of the ailments of veterans of today, tiny. I have security clearance of secret with the U.S. Navy. I was an aviation storekeeper, 3rd class petty officer in a helicopter combat support squadron. I rose from the rank of E1 through E4 pay grades in 4 years, which is no mean feat in the U.S. Navy of that era. I served time in the Arab-Israeli War Theater of 1973. I have valuable training in search and rescue operations, financial record keeping, and wartime material procurement. People's lives depended on my ability to procure parts and supplies in tight time frames and adverse conditions while serving in city during flight operations. I attended 5 years of night school while working with a full-time job with the federal government civil service, utilizing my GI Bill of benefits. I had a non-working wife and 2 small preschool children at home at the time. Realizing the importance of an education beyond high school, I worked many long days in Portland, commuting by bus from Hillsboro, so that I might expand my horizons, always keeping my eye on the future. I did not finish my BBA degree then at that time, but am now, as I've attended 3 years of college at Clark College part-time, and I will be transferring to Portland State University this spring term with the expectation of finally attaining the bachelor degree I saw so diligent so many years ago.